Hello, welcome to CTL 3020, Writing in a Second Language, and my name is Robert Coles, and I'll be the instructor for this course. And also welcome to my home, namely to my kitchen, which is what you're looking at right now, all those red IKEA cabinets. I'll be doing most of my podcasts for this course probably from this space, so I hope you enjoy looking at those red cabinets because you'll be seeing a lot of them. There'll be a couple times during the term that I'll be traveling for different conferences, so the venue may change. Anyway, so what I'd like to do in this podcast is to walk everybody very briefly through the syllabus, the assignment guidelines, and the assessment rubric. Those are all three attachments that should have been on Blackboard, and they're also on Pepper. And I largely suspect that you're probably all on Pepper now to be able to view this webcast. So to begin the course, on the first page I've got my contact information. The email address that I would prefer is secondlanguagecomposing@gmail.com. It's a special email address that I created just for this course. If you'd like to contact me by UTOR ID, it's robert.coles@utoronto.ca. If you'd like to meet with me one-on-one, I do have Skype, and I have my Skype address there, which is rcoles. So let me know anytime during the semester if you'd like to have a one-on-one appointment, and we can arrange a time that's both convenient for you and me. So moving right along, what is this course about? What is second language writing? Well, I've provided a brief synopsis there with a bullet point list of everything that largely I'd like to cover in this course, and that includes looking at where second language writing came from, what are the prevailing theories in second language writing, and we'll spend some time looking at actually first language composition theory, and looking at issues around the composing process, how students learn how to write, how teachers are taught how to teach students how to write, and where those ideas came from. We'll look at some large issues, important issues in writing, such as how to give feedback to writing, how to use peer feedback in writing. We'll look at issues around assessment and using technology in the writing classroom. We'll also look at some issues that aren't always a part of a writing curriculum, which is contrastive rhetoric, for example, which we'll be talking about, I believe, in the second week of the course. We'll also be talking about issues around critical writing, and critical writing involves issues in power in writing, power disparities, so standard English versus dialects and world Englishes and lingua franca English. So all of these issues that compete in terms of how English can or should be written and how those are evaluated. So it kind of broadens this perspective on writing and is really useful, I think, for people who are teaching and working all around the world and are exposed to different kinds of English, different dialects of English. And I think will provide sort of a nice context to providing a really interesting conversation around writing. If you go to the second page, the course textbook is this one by Ferris and Hedgecock, which is Teaching ESL Composition. This book, you don't actually have to buy the book. You can actually get it from Amazon as a Kindle version, and you don't even have to buy it. You can actually rent it for a certain period of time, and when you're done, it just goes back to Amazon. And most of our readings will actually come from that book. But I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in a moment. My role will be similar to, I think, what Jeff Lawrence's role was, or Nina Spada's role, or other faculty that you've had in this program. So setting up the course, facilitating discussion, commenting on your writing and on your posts. In terms of availability, Monday through Friday, Toronto time, if you will. I usually would check the course usually in the mornings or in the evenings, depending, or sometimes both. I'm not available on Saturdays or Sundays, so if you do email me on a Friday night, for example, I'll be sure to respond to you by Monday morning. Okay? After that, you'll see in the syllabus how the weeks are divided in terms of topics. I start out all the topics with particular pre-reading questions, things to think about. Also for each week, I will be doing podcasts to complement those pre-reading questions, just to kind of set up the context a little bit for you. The readings themselves will be doing about 2 a week, and one will include largely a chapter from Ferris and Hedgecock, and the other one will be a journal article that's more specific and kind of nicely illustrate some of the principles that Ferris and Hitchcock talk about. And those journal articles could be anything from an ethnography to a case study to a more quantitative analysis of a particular grammatical point or writing point, for example. I also have particular podcasts listed as well to kind of complement the reading, and I'll encourage you to look at least one of those a week. And I've given you different choices and different options to look at. And then below there's a list of suggested readings. If you're interested in a particular topic and you want to read more, you have a complete list there. So that's how each course, or each week rather, is organized. And and I'll be doing another podcast right after this one to introduce the first week. So moving right along, let's talk about the writing, or the assignment guidelines for the course. There are two ways in which I've developed the course. One is the oral component, and then the other is the writing component. The oral component is basically what I call the online participation component, if you will, and that's about 45% of your grade. I'm following a lot of what Jeff Lawrence has done in the past in terms of encouraging everybody to participate. For example, I would expect maybe 3 times a week that you check in, and with a minimum of at least 2 posts per week, and to limit those posts to about 150 words. Because I know if you're doing a lot of posting, a lot of writing, and it's 200, 300, 400 words, that's great, but I know it's a lot to read for a lot of people and to think about and respond, and sometimes it can create a bit of anxiety, and I certainly don't want to create any anxiety. So those are some guidelines I would recommend everybody to follow. What else did I want to say? What I'll put together later is something on Google Docs where I'll ask people to sign up to do weekly summaries. And so that would be basically once in the term, you and a colleague would summarize what the conversation has been about that week and just post it in 1 or 2 paragraphs. And I'll go into more detail about that later in the next post. In terms of the writing assignments, there'll be 3. The first one, which we'll be doing about a month, is to critique a writing textbook. The second one is basically a paper in which you give feedback on a sample piece of writing that I'll provide you. And the third one is a writing lesson plan. So each one of these writing assignments are sort of staggered out throughout the course of the program, so you can imagine about 1 writing assignment per month. Okay? And last but not least is the writing, the assessment rubric itself. How are you evaluated? And for the oral component, I've drawn heavily from Jeff Lawrence's rubric that he used with everyone previously. So it kind of distinguishes between what an A+ is, A minus, for example. And I've done a companion one also for the writing. So if you want to know what an A paper looks like versus an A minus or A plus or B plus and so forth, I've tried to describe that, basically what I'm looking for. So I want to wrap up the podcast here. It's been a little bit over 8 minutes, and so that kind of is a general introduction to everything. I look forward to working with everybody, and welcome to the course.